Hey guys, welcome back to the vlog into the Philippines. Today I'm going to talk about the SIM Card Registration Act, which went into effect yesterday at the time of recording. I'll tell you very briefly what a SIM is for those that don't know, what the act is, and why this is so important to foreigners, and it changes a lot here in the Philippines and not in a good way. Let's jump right into it. Okay, so a SIM is basically this little chip that goes inside of your cell phone. They have eSIMs now, I won't get into those, but basically it's what transmits to the tower and lets the tower know and the system know that you have paid your phone bill or that you have prepaid load on it and what carrier you're with, and it identifies your phone on the network. So that's what a SIM is. It's basic. You have one in every cell phone other than the ones, like I say, the new eSIMs. So up until now in the Philippines, you could go to one of the major three providers or one of their resellers such as Globe, Smart, Ditto, buy you a SIM for 100 pesos, about $2, and then you would add load to it as a prepaid SIM card as a foreigner here in the Philippines that would let the tower know that you paid your bill, that you had service on there. And it's very simple. You could go to a Sari store or any local telecom, you could buy that SIM, get it, and it was no problem. You didn't have to present ID, you didn't have to have it tied to you in any way. It basically became a throwaway device. So when you left the country, you didn't even have to forget about it. Well, all that changed now with the new SIM Card Registration Act. The SIM Card Registration Act is a law that was passed by the legislature, signed into law by the president, that required that all SIM cards be tied to a specific end user, meaning you, the person who's using the phone, and that there be identity that is confirmed tied to that, such as, in the case of foreigners, a passport showing who actually has that SIM card. And that was basically what the legislation was for. It was to prevent any sort of cyber crimes or using anonymity through the SIM card, because 93% of all SIM cards in the Philippines, at least according to the study by the World Bank, were actually prepaid SIM cards that had no identification. This would make each SIM card tied to that. Now, after the legislation was passed, we really didn't know what was going to happen. I actually did a video about it at the time, until the various agencies put out what's called the IRR, which is the implementing rules and regulations. That was done. I've read through all of those. I've read through the law. They vary considerably from each other. And now that those rules are being implemented, I'm going to go through step by step what those rules are, and then we'll talk about how it affects foreigners specifically. Let's go jump right into it. This is the text of the legislation, directly from the rules and regulations regarding tourists. So anyone coming here under a tourist visa. So for foreign national end users, that's the person with the SIM, visiting as tourists under Section 9A of the Commonwealth Act number 613 as amended, all of the following must be presented. Number one, the passport. A copy of the bio page of the passport and the pages where the current 9A visa is stamped. So if it's the first one when you come into the country, that will be the visa stamp, or if you've gotten an extension, it's going to be that stamp that's showing that you're currently authorized to be in the Philippines. No other documents are allowed for foreigners under the act but a passport, whereas Filipinos, there are various different documents that they can use. Second, you have to show proof of address in the Philippines. So this can be a booking in a hotel or other accommodation, or an absence thereof, an affidavit letter from the owner of the house or resident where such foreign national will stay. A huge problem that strikes me with these rules and regulations is that you are required under the rules to provide proof, not just your word, but proof of where you are living in the Philippines. Now that can be a hotel receipt or a hotel booking, or if you're staying with a friend or family member, or somebody else, a affidavit from them stating that you're staying with them. The problem with this is the rules also require that you report any changes to the telecom with proof as soon as those happen. The words are immediately. So if your residence changes, in other words, you come in, you're staying at one hotel when you're getting it, and you're moving to another island to another hotel, theoretically, you have to report that every single time and show proof through the app or to the telecom of what that new residence is, such as a new hotel receipt, a new booking receipt. And the fact is I really just don't believe in practicality most tourists coming to the Philippines that get this are actually going to obey that. That's not the right thing to do, but you're obviously, with these rules, setting people up for failure, in my opinion, or to immediately criminalize them without sometimes them even knowing. The people on the forums and the expat forums are already overwhelmingly talking about how they're going to have somebody else do this for them. I don't think that's the spirit of the law. I don't think that's really allowed under the rules and regulations, but that's already what we're seeing just in the comment sections of the various expat forums that I'm looking at, as well as some of the tourist forums that people coming in talking about. Third, proof of a return ticket to own country of the tourist or any other ticket showing the date and time of departure from the Philippines. Now, this plane ticket registration or showing proof of an onward ticket, this is something totally new. I've never seen any country that does this, that ties it to their telecoms, and it's going to be a game changer here for foreigners who stay more than 30 days in the Philippines. You're required, if you're a foreigner, to have what's called an onward ticket, showing that you're going to leave the Philippines whenever you come. Most people cancel those when they come in and they're going to stay longer. Some people stay 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years on these visas, renewing them over and over, so they don't have to get those onward tickets each time. Well, this is going to create a nightmare having to present that every 30 days, especially for people who are staying here long term for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Imagine having every 30 days to go get an onward ticket or some other type of ticket and then canceling that, the expense, the cost, the headaches. I'm not really certain why the rules and regulations do that. I know that you're required to have that when you enter, but this is going to cause a really bad headache. And I will tell you for certain, Thailand has rules on that too. Some other countries I have. There's reasons that I don't live in Thailand. There's other reasons that other expats don't live in these other countries. And it's because they have these restrictive rules that there's just other places that'll treat you better. And that's going to be a problem with this as I see it. The SIMs that are registered to tourists under the tourist visa shall only have a validity of 30 days and shall automatically be deactivated on expiration of the validity of the SIM. The validity of that SIM may be extended only upon presentation or submission by the said foreign national of an approved visa extension. So in other words, this creates two tiers of SIMs, one for people on foreign tourist visas and then one for everybody else. The legislation, or the rule also states that if these SIMs are deactivated automatically because it's on the tourist visa, then you only have 5 days after that to reactivate it, or that SIM is shut down forever. So if you decide to extend your tourist visa here in the Philippines and you go to immigration, you get a new stamp, at the end of the 30 days, when you can show that you have extended that, you can then upload or show proof that you have extended your visa for another 30 days, 60 days, 6 months, whatever, and you can then get an extension to that original SIM card. Now, the problem that I see here is with the rules and regulations, it's very specific that these SIM cards for tourists are only good for 30 days at a time. It really doesn't mention the renewal other than the 5-day thing that I talked to you about. And that's the problem. So is it going to be 30 days at a time that you've got to jump in here? Is it going to match the visa? My guess is the telecoms will match it to the 30 days, which is the language under the act, but we're still early on. I'm going to wait and see what happens there. When you go to actually do the registration online for your card, at least through the Smart app, there's a disclaimer in there for tourists that after the end of the 30 days, if your card is automatically deactivated and you have credit on there, or what they call load in the Philippines, in other words, money available on your account, that money is forfeit. You lose it. You don't get any credit for it. And the funny thing is, this is not mentioned anywhere in the implementing rules or registration, and it is certainly not mentioned in the law. So as far as I can tell, this is something that the telecoms have tacked on there and just makes it an easy money grab for them when people leave a little load on there, or quite a lot, when they're done, or if they forget to renew it when they extend their visa. Now, there are other categories of foreigners in the Philippines who are outside of the visas, the tourist visas under 9A, such as students, people going to college, people that have residency here. And the good news is for those people, this 30-day SIM card doesn't apply. They actually go through the exact same procedures as basically a Filipino citizen would here in the Philippines. Foreign nationals with other types of visas can acquire SIMs without the 30-day temporary validity period and register the same following the respective PTEs, that's the telecom registration process. So those folks actually have to just do proof of whatever visa they're on or the school they're attending. If that's the reason, they have to show that they're actually attending the school, things like that. One area they kind of leave out is what's called the balikbayan pass, which is if you're married to a Filipino and you come in for 1 year on that, visa free, don't have to do immigration checkups or anything. It's really kind of silent on that based on my reading, and this is just a guess. I don't know how it's going to work or how the telecoms are going to interpret it, but my guess is with those types, all they have to do is show the stamp of the balikbayan, which allows them to be in a year. And I would assume that even though it is a tourist visa, but it's not under 9A, that it would, I assume, allow them to have a normal SIM card rather than this 30-day cutoff. But again, I haven't seen anybody interpret that. It's kind of left out in the language, and that's one that really kind of needs to be looked at. So these create real problems for tourists in the Philippines. It basically categorizes two different types of SIM cards. It creates a Filipino or non-tourist foreigner card, and then it creates a card specifically, or a program specifically, only for foreigners who are here on tourist visas or short-term visas. And because those cards are only going to be good for 30 days, it's going to create real headaches for foreigners, in my opinion. Now guys, I love the Philippines. This is not to hark on them. This is their country. This is their people. This is their laws. It's none of my business. This is what they wanted. They voted for this, they want this, that's fine. It's their country, they can do what they want. We're all guests here. I'm a guest here. All of the tourists, all of the foreigners here are guests. I'm just saying this and putting this information out there so that other foreigners who are here already or who are coming here will be aware of this, because a lot of times you don't know about this information when you get into a country unless you really, really research it. And it's helpful to know about that in making your decision to come here or to stay here in the Philippines. Just one additional piece of information. This registration is not unique to the Philippines. It's new to the Philippines, but lots of other countries have done this. Generally, it fails. Mexico, back in 2009, implemented this policy. They were going to try to crack down on the cartels and everything. Complete abysmal failure, was a headache for everyone. 3 years later, they went in, they scrapped the program and repealed it. Don't know that that's going to happen here. I have seen that happen in several different countries, and I've been to countries that have registration acts, but most of them don't have this automatic deactivation and also be used as an immigration tool, such as, the plane tickets. Now, as for me, I'm fortunate enough that I can get a regular SIM card, so I don't have to worry about the losing at the end of the 30 days. I still have to register it just like anybody else, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait, because the system is just it's just wanky right now. When they launched the system yesterday, Globe, which is one of the major telecoms, their entire app for registering crashed, and it's the first day, but I think Globe has like 83 million SIM cards to register at this point. So I'm going to wait for this thing to kind of shake out. We've got 180 days after the implementation of it. I think that's up in March, but I'll wait for a month, 2 months before I have to comply with that. Since I've got the time, kind of let them get the kinks out. That's what I recommend for everybody who is here already. And if you're coming in, getting a new SIM card, obviously you've got to do it from day one. All right, guys, enough bad news for one day. That's it for me here in the Philippines. If you like this content, make sure you hit the like button. Let other people know that this is valuable or that it can help them in some way. And obviously hit the subscribe button if you want to see from me again in the future. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.